Now then, people, how are we all doing? Welcome back to True Gunners TV, back for a second time today. Of course, the Champions League draw earlier on. Catch that, make sure you go and check that one out. My cousin coming on for his debut as well. But of course, we've got to talk about the big one. It is Arsenal versus Manchester United this weekend. And even though our clubs have been in the doldrums for, the last 10 years at least, it's always a big game, Arsenal versus Manchester United. Of course, we're going to react to the Champions League draw as well, get Staffy's reaction. We're going to react to Reguilon the Don signing for Manchester United, of course. I already got the feeling that Staffy doesn't really
The
like
more
that
you
signing.
say it, it's not growing on me. The more you say that, so
It's not growing on him. But yeah, big up Staffy, back again for the second time on the channel. How are we doing?
good, bro. Good, bro. Thanks for having me. Eventful day to say the least. Second to last day in the transfer window. Even though it's a little bit boring, but then we signed Reguilon, and I don't really know how I feel about it. But then there's also the Champions League draw. But then we're also building up to the game, so there's a lot going on. A lot going on.
There definitely is a lot going on. What should we start with then? Champions League or Reguilon?
Let's get Reguilon out of the way.
Get Reguilon out of the way. So, of course, Manchester United, anybody who hasn't heard yet, Reguilon has signed for Manchester United on loan. Of course, Man United suffering with a few injuries in their defensive areas. Luke Shaw is out injured. Rafael Varane is out injured. So Man United are struggling for cover. This is a signing that I didn't really see coming. He's still a Tottenham player, Reguilon. So I'm surprised that Tottenham have, allowed one of their rivals to strengthen their team, if that's what you call it. Are you rivals? Yeah, maybe not. Who knows? Who knows? I mean, both of our clubs, let's be honest, stuff. We haven't really started that great this season, and that includes Arsenal as well. So I think you'll see in the next 10 games where our football clubs are. And whether Tottenham can keep up with what they're doing at the moment. Of course, they went out the Carabao Cup in the second round. Losers. Jesus Christ. Their season's over in August.
I think that's the one trophy they were hoping to get.
That's it.
For some reason, they thought it's a good idea. Hey, look, we're not in Europe this year. Let's bench everyone and bring on the whole bench as if they were good before Ange was here. You already knew they were crap. What's the point of trying them in a new system? They're still crap. Play your starting 11, try to win a trophy. You have nothing else going on this season.
It's the history of the Tottenham, as Chiellini once said, my friend. So, yeah, Reguilon, what do you make of the signing, bro?
It's just an emergency signing, to be fair. I'm not making much out of it. I would have preferred to get Cucurella, because at least with Cucurella, I could look at it in a positive way. Where like, oh, maybe he rediscovers his career, he gets his confidence back. He was a good player before he joined Chelsea. So I'm not going to dismiss that he was going to Chelsea. But Reguilon, is he even the right player? Is he even going to get a minute off the pitch, on the pitch? I don't really think there's much to think about in terms of the signing. The one thing that's embarrassing about it is that we were in for him 4 years ago when Mourinho was the manager. And then he went to Spurs when Mourinho went to Spurs. And here we are 4 years later signing him. So for everyone who thinks United doesn't get their targets, hold that. We got our target. Just a little too late, but we still got him.
I like that. Well, that's
if you don't laugh, you cry, Brendan. So I'd rather laugh.
That's it, bro. I mean, I suppose that's a good way of putting a positive spin on it, I suppose. But oh, mate, do you know what? Speaking of the transfer window, this transfer window as a whole, for every single club, I think, has been a little bit of a letdown. I think Manchester City have done some very good business. I think if you had to choose a team that's won the transfer window, I think Manchester City would be it. Because, they let go of Mahrez, they replaced him with Doku. They've replaced Gundogan with, Mateus Nunes and Kovacic. So they've brought in some good players. Guardiola at the back as well. They had the best defensive record last season, and now they've just added, to that a very, very good up-and-coming centre-back. So I look at Manchester City and there isn't really any holes in their team. People will look at Arsenal and say, well, what you on about? Like, what? Why are you saying that we've had a poor transfer window? And we've had a poor transfer window. We got ourselves, Declan Rice. It was looking great to begin with, and now we've left ourselves with loads of holes in the team. Now that we've, allowed Kieran Tierney and etc. to leave the football club, doesn't look like we're going to do any more business. We've
It looks
just
like it's over, yeah.
4 hours remaining. Man United, they're a bit of a weird one. Chelsea, we know they'd be splashing the cash, everywhere, and they'll still be crap. So, yeah, underwhelming transfer window. I don't know if you feel the same, mate.
For my club or your club?
For the transfer window as a whole.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you look at teams. You said it perfectly. Probably City can be the only team that walks away, and you're like, you know what? We did decent business this season, this summer. We kind of, how do I say this? They kind of improved the age of the squad. They got the best up and coming center back in the world at 21 years old. They Gundogan was no scrub by no means, even with his age. It's not like we're talking about like he was washed. But in his 30s, they replaced him with someone who is decent, probably not the same level, but Kovacic is a good player. And they added Matheus Nunes, who I think both of us would probably take him in our team, if we're being honest, Brandon. Very good player, very good on the ball. So who else did they add? That we mentioned, Duke Odoku on the right wing. Also young and upcoming, one of the best one-on-one wingers in the world. So they did improve their team. And then when you look at the rest of us, you guys added 3 players, lost one of them. Technically, Rice just replaces Xhaka, which you can say, yeah, that is an improvement. But at the same time, you added Havertz, and a lot of people are like against that. They don't like it. So did you really improve, or did you just stay where you are? There's a lot of questions there. Us ourselves, we definitely improved the goalkeeper department. But then you look at the midfield, you question why we signed Mount. You question why we still didn't go for a DM. We're yet to sign Amrabat. You question why we didn't sell Maguire and replace him with a center back that we're actually going to use. Because to think of it, Maguire doesn't even get in this team when the center backs are injured. We've used Luke Shaw in center back while he was sitting on the bench, and this guy has no shame to walk out of the club and go rejuvenate his career. And to answer that question, by the way, I am American. The New York is right here. I'm from New York. Big up, Megan. We still lack a number 9, but we did sign a number 9 who's young and upcoming, still unproven, but even he came in injured. So our summer hasn't been the best at all. Not enough outgoings. Couldn't even raise sales to sign Amrabat. We're trying to penny pinch 2 million to sign him yesterday and stuff like that. It's that's what I'm saying, Brandon. If you don't laugh, you cry. So definitely underwhelming summer for a lot of people. You have Liverpool signing a bunch of eights, and they have no DMs, and the only DM they got is a 31 or a 30-year-old from a relegation team in Germany. Weird. It's such a weird transfer. I'm not gonna lie. Outside of City, by the way, we could probably say that West Ham kind of did well with the Rice money because they got WordPress at 30 million. Who, by the way, I got clipped on whose channel? I got clipped on Hassem's channel saying I would rather take WordPress over Mount, and people laughed at me. And now everyone's raving about, oh my God, look at how great that business was. He has a couple assists and a goal. Oh, but when I said it, because I'm just a nobody from America, I don't know what I'm talking about. People decided to clip me. They got kudos. They got what's his name? The guy from Ajax, the defensive midfielder, the Mexican guy. I think they did really well in reinvesting that Rice money. So you can argue they had a good summer too. So underwhelming. Only a couple teams can be positive about it, for being honest.
Definitely. I agree. I agree as well. People that are watching, get yourselves in the comments section. Let me know your thoughts and feelings on the transfer window as a whole. Because, me and Staffy are sitting here saying it's been very disappointing. I mean, apart from Chelsea selling all their players to bloody, Saudi Arabia, there hasn't really been many sales from any clubs, to be fair. It's like everybody's struggling to sell players. And that's been our biggest downfall at Arsenal
A
because
lot of loans, Brendan. I don't even
a
understand. You
lot of
guys didn't
loans.
even sell Tierney. You loaned him. It's weird to
Yeah,
me.
it's weird, mate, because we're playing Thomas Partey at right back, and we've got a left back in Kieran Tierney, and we just go, you can go, Partey, you're at right back, mate. Like
I,
it doesn't make no sense. It really doesn't.
I've seen you rant on a few channels, and to be honest, I don't blame you because I tried explaining your situation, and I'm like, listen, I understand. I actually understand what Arteta is trying to do, but I told Arsenal fans, first of all, don't take what I say. Just take it with a pinch of salt. You don't need to listen to me. I'm just trying to explain what's going on. He's trying to do a Pep, which I understand. Fine. A lot of people want to invert people into players into the midfield. Kind of overload that midfield so you can take control. But I was like, imagine if Pep took Rodri out, who was his best DM. He said, Rodri, we need someone to invert from that back line into the midfield. So I'm going to move you to right back, but I want you to invert every time. But when we lose the ball, I need you to run all the way back and take a shape of a right back when we're defending. Imagine how good Rodri would be at that. He wouldn't, because that's not his bread and butter. What Pep was smart about, he found it much easier to just invert a center back, just move him up, and then they take a shape of a three. Or when they're defending, just move back and everyone goes wide again. That's why he used Akanji, who can defend in wide positions. That's why he used Ake, who can defend in wide positions. Is Partey going to really defend the wide positions? It's not his thing. So the idea is there. The execution is just wrong.
In my opinion, you're right. The idea is there. The execution is wrong. I don't know whether you agree with me on this, right? But I'm going to give another suggestion out here. And I'm just a fan. I'm not a qualified manager or any of this, right? But what would make sense to me, if he's going to do the inverted thing, and we know that Thomas Partey is best in the midfield, why not do what Pep does? Play 4 centre backs, right? You play Gabriel on the left because he covers that left half space when Zinchenko's in the team anyway. You play William Saliba and Declan Rice as your centre backs because Declan Rice actually started his career as a centre back.
As a centre back, that's true.
Then you play Ben White at right back, and Declan Rice is the one who steps into midfield. You play Thomas Partey a little bit further forward. You can have Kai Havertz, Fabio Vieira, whoever you like, Emil Smith-Rowe, Odegaard, and then your front three. That makes more sense because you don't leave any holes when you're going forward. And defensively, you're more secure. So if I can see that, why can't the managers see that stuff? I don't understand that.
I think, unfortunately, Arteta's a little bit stubborn. And I think he gets that from Pep, because Pep is very stubborn too. But I always say Pep has earned enough credit to get things wrong because he usually gets it right. We've seen him start the season last season differently than how he ended the season. He started the season with a back four. He noticed he's winning, but the performances are not that good. Haaland is getting the goals, but no one else is really doing anything. And then he found a way to add another midfielder in that another play in that midfield, create more, involve Haaland in the play, and then they start getting results with good performances, and they ended up winning a treble. So you can afford to give managers like that more time to, get in the lab and try to make something out of nothing, But when Arteta, here's the thing. Unfortunately, he had a working formula last season. But you know what it is, Brandon? It's like you tried to cook something, this recipe. Almost good, but not good enough. And you're like, you know what? If I added a little bit of this, a little bit of that, it would have tasted better. Next time, I'm going to do the same recipe, but I'm adding a little bit of whatever was missing. Instead of doing that, you're like, actually, let me take out this, and I'm going to take it, I'm going to change it with that, and you just completely ruined the recipe. And now it tastes completely different than what you did the first time. That's what I think he did with his team compared to last season. I don't think getting Havertz was what he needed at this time. I kept saying it on your guys' channel. He created a problem because when you looked at this team, and if you asked any rival or any Arsenal fan, why did you lose the league? They would have said, you know what? When we lost Saliba, we didn't have proper coverage because Holding came in. He doesn't retain the ball as good as Saliba does. He doesn't pass the ball as good as Saliba does. He's defensively not as sound as Saliba is. So he was one of our weaknesses. Maybe if we add a proper center back to cover him, who's diverse, that can play on the right back position or in the center back position, we could have won that league, which is what he did with Timber. But then you lost Xhaka and you replaced him with a player who's not the same profile. The only similarity between them is that they both speak German and they're both left-footed. There's nothing about them that's similar because Xhaka he got the goals last season, but his work rate was immense. He got the goals, but he always ran, he always tackled, he did so much off the ball than on the ball. But Havertz doesn't give you that. So it's like, but why didn't you just look for the next jacket? That's the same thing, by the way, Ten Hag did. I thought our issue is that we have Ericsson, who's good on the ball, bad off the ball. So what do? You go get a younger version of Ericsson. There must be a similar profile out there that could come in, and when we go away, we don't get our midfield doesn't get ran over because now we have someone who actually has legs when we don't have the ball, but he's as good, if not better than Ericsson when we get the ball. What did we do? We got to set a different profile. We got Mount, who's someone who plays more in the final third. Both our managers did the same mistake. And I think it's coming down to we're all waiting to see who's going to die on his sword first, if not both of them. I think it's very hard to disagree on that. I don't know if you think the same.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm 50-50 with it because I actually think we wanted Mason Mount before we wanted Kai Havertz. And I actually think
Agreed.
that Mason Mount would fit that Granit Xhaka role better than what Kai Havertz does. But of course, you guys got Mason Mount. It's a weird one. Both of our managers seem to have tried something, spent a lot of money on a signing. They've come in and they've been, one of the marquee signings for each club. And it doesn't look like it's going to work. It really doesn't. And it's interesting, really, because, like I say, both clubs, last season, Man United, I'll credit Man United and I'll credit Ten Hag because he come in, it's his first season. You don't expect too much in the transition season from a manager, even though, you're Man United. But when you was left in the mess that you was left in by, Ralph Rangnick, your managers previous to that, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Mourinho, there was a lot for him to sort out. But he came in, he got you third place, he got you Champions League football, he got you a trophy. I thought, do you know what? That's a decent start. Decent start. And I was quite worried about what you guys might do in the transfer window and how you might, press on to kind of challenge Man City for a league title again. And I looked at your team. Yeah, there's holes in it, but there's not as many holes as what there is now. It's a weird one because we all know that you need a striker. We all know that you need another midfielder, but you haven't really addressed that. I mean, you brought Højlund in and he scored 11 goals for Atlanta. Like, that's how poor.
To be fair, he didn't really have a lot of starts, though. I think it's more of a future. I agree with you. He's not a proven striker that comes in now and you're like right away guaranteed goals. He's not a Harry Kane. You get Harry Kane in. The ideal situation would have been to get a Harry Kane and a Højlund. Harry Kane comes in right now and he bangs the goals. Højlund learns off him and develops, and he becomes the next replacement for Harry Kane in a year or two. That would have been the ideal situation. But, thanks to the Glazers, that's not what happened. So we didn't do that. And it looks like we still have a hole in the number 9. We couldn't sell Martial still because of his injuries. Another player that has overstayed his welcome at United. The same as Maguire, the same as McTominay. We got a lot of players that are leaving on loan because we can't sell them away with all these wages. So I do hear you when you feel like this team that has more holes than last season, considering that we actually added players. The only thing that we can probably agree on that is that we strengthened in the goalkeeper department. That looks good. Defending wise, we were in for Kim Min-jae and it ended up with Johnny Evans. Just the level of incompetency. Look at you. You're this, bro. I keep saying it, bro. If you don't laugh, you cry. Kim Min-jae is about to start for Bayern against us in the Champions League, and we have Johnny Evans on our bench. For whatever reason that is. After all these links to Debo and all these guys, we ended up with Johnny Evans, who they told me was just going to train in preseason. But here we are, the season starting. People saying, well, he's better than Maguire. Okay, so should I go and play on the pitch too? Because I'll probably do a better job than Maguire. Most of us would. So there is a lot of holes. We unfortunately neglected the midfield until late. I think one of the things, though, that I'm going to give Ten Hag a break with, I think he really wanted to promote Kobe Mainoo, give him some minutes because he really is big on this kid. He thinks he's very good. Unfortunately, he gets injured in preseason. I do believe he would have started the season and been given the Ericsson minutes. But unfortunately, he's injured, so we'll have to wait until October to see what he's going to do with him. which kind of left him now late trying to get a DM because we already had Mount, but then we lost our other DM. So it's still a bit of a mess, and I'm gonna trust the manager to make the best out of it. But ideally, we're going into the season. I'm like, I don't feel good about it. I don't feel prepared. It's like going to an exam tomorrow. I have a test, but I only studied like half the material. I'm gonna hope for the best, but I'm not really confident that I could ace it. You know what I mean? So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. I very much feel the same about Arsenal, to be honest with you. Like I said, how have we ended up with more holes than what we had last season? I just don't know. But it's going to be interesting, actually, because both of our clubs, high expectations, big clubs, especially at Arsenal. I mean, Ten Hag, it's a little bit more forgivable because he's only just going into his second season. But Mikel
I see.
Arteta, 4 years in the job now, £700 million spent. I'm sorry, but he has to win something this season. And, it brings us in nicely to the next talking point, which is, of course, the Champions League draw today. Man United in with Bayern Munich, Copenhagen, Galatasaray. Arsenal have got the easiest group out of the lot with Sevilla, PSV, and Lens. Man City, I mean, this thing's rigged, and it's stuffy. Man City get Leipzig, Red Star Belgrade, Young Boys, and then Newcastle, poor old Newcastle, right, in the group of death.
That
The group of death, man. Like, yeah,
poor
I mean,
Kendall, poor Kendall.
to be fair, I was on the terrace earlier, and there was a couple of Newcastle fans on there, and one of them came on, and he was hyped about it. He was like, "Look, you know, okay, it's going to be a difficult group, but I want to play the best teams. That's what Champions League's for." And I get it, I understand it, and we. I mean, this is just adding pressure to Mikel Arteta now because if we don't win that group, Stuffy, if we do not win that group comfortably, surely Arsenal fans have to start asking questions.
100%. You know what it is? I think it's actually worse for you guys that you didn't get big teams. Because if you've gotten at least one big team, you can either be like, you know what, they have more experience than us. They have the Champions League heritage. Now everyone's looking at this group and like, yeah, Arsenal, easy first place. Anything less than that is going to raise a few eyebrows. Anything less than that, you're going to start getting questions. So I feel this actually adds more pressure to what's going on in the Arsenal camp right now. I do expect you guys to go through, but those first three games at least, you win those three, you have to win those three. So there's no question. You can't afford to go into the second half of the group stage games, which is the last three, and be like, oh, I need to pick up a win in Sevilla. I'll tell you myself, I don't like going to Sevilla. We never win there. I don't know why.
Football
We
heritage and all that. Yeah, I remember
you
the
know
Jose.
what's
Yeah.
you know what's funny? They're our bogey team, and Bayern is your bogey team, and we kind of switched. So you guys, I'm hearing Igal saying, you know what, I want Bayern, and he's getting clipped on Twitter saying, I want Bayern on all this. I was actually being humble. I was like, you know what? They asked me, who do you want in the group stages? I said, anyone but Sevilla. I swear, I just wanted anyone but Sevilla. We are so bad when we go to Spanish teams. Thank God we have 0 Spanish teams in our group stage. But listen, I am happy, like you said about Newcastle fans. I'm happy we picked up at least one tough team, which is Bayern, because I need us to be tested a little bit. Thomas Tuchel's not playing the best football, but they have world-class players, and these are the level of teams that I want to be tested against. Because if we are building something, we are building something to take on teams like this. We are building teams to take on the best teams in Europe and the best teams in the country. I'm not saying we're at their level yet, but I want to be tested against them. I don't want us to have the easiest group because everyone's like, oh, give me Feyenoord and Copenhagen and Young Boys. I'm like, bro, I don't want to watch that. I want to watch us go to the Allianz Arena, which we are, and try to put up a fight against them. I want us to pick up 3 points at home and make it hard for Bayern to travel to us. This is what we brought in Ten Hag for, So I'm happy that we got a mix of like a couple games that you're looking like, okay, we should beat these teams. But then yet again, no one is looking at us and like, oh yeah, United should win that because now we have Bayern. So people are now doubting us and saying, yeah, well, United now is best going to get second. Now let's see if we can prove them wrong and get first place. You know what I'm saying? So I'm excited to go away to the Allianz Arena. I'm excited to host them at home. I'm excited to go toe to toe with one of the best teams in Europe. And I think a lot of United fans should expect the same standard from the club.
Definitely. And do you know, I was actually saying this earlier. I'm a little bit worried about our group. I'm worried
Really,
because Arteta has a tendency of rotating the squad. I think he'll look at them games and go, we've got a touch here, boys. Like, I can afford to rest a few players and this, that, and the other. When in reality, that group there is probably a good Europa League group, really, isn't
it
it?
really is.
But at the same time, as Kev just pointed out here, we couldn't beat Olympiacos. We couldn't beat Unai Emery's Villarreal or Sporting Lisbon last season in the Europa League. So, how difficult or easy of a group is it? Because at the end of the day, the manager, I don't trust him, Staffy. I really don't. I don't trust him. And I can see it now. Group stage, we start our group campaign against Sevilla and Thomas Partey's at right back. I can see it now. I can see it now. And we go out to Sevilla and we get
You're traumatized.
I'm traumatized by what this manager is doing right now because, like you said earlier, he's torn everything up that was good about Arsenal last season. And he's just gone, well, we'll start again, boys. Don't worry about it. Like, no. That cannot happen. Kev says Sevilla are decent. That's a reason why they've won so many Europa Leagues. They are very good in Europe, Sevilla. Very, very good. PSV gave us issues last time we played them. Yes, last season they did. Lens, unknown quantity, but they have some decent players.
They sold most of their players, though. They won they got second, I think, in the league, and they sold most of their players.
Yeah, and the only thing I'd say about Sevilla is that they're actually sat rock bottom of La Liga right now. So,
don't get it twisted. We should have beat them, by the way. I'm saying they're our bogey team, but 100% we should have beat them. We were up 2-0 inside 30 minutes. Do you understand that? We were up 2-0 in 30 minutes. We brought on Maguire at halftime and then conceded six goals? 5 goals, because it ended up 2-2. And then the second leg, he continued playing and we conceded 3. So we were up 2-0 until Maguire got subbed on the pitch for 3 halves in a row. We lost 5-2 on aggregate. It's a joke. They're not that good. We made them look good, but they're not that good.
Yeah, that's it. So, yeah, I mean, it'll be what it'll be when it's Staffy out. And yeah, that's about all we can say about the Champions League, I think, to be fair, at the moment. Because the other thing as well, we've got an easy group, but if we get out of that group, we're going to be playing somebody ridiculous, aren't we? We're going to be playing someone like Real Madrid, Man United, Bayern Munich. It's just a complete and a different level to the teams that we've drew in that group.
Welcome to
And
the
I don't
Champions
want
League,
these players
Brandon.
to get comfortable,
You made a very good point. That this group looks like a Europa League group, and I looked at that. I kept saying we're gonna have to see how good Arteta is with not being able to rotate too many players because the quality is gonna be high. But then he kind of gets away with a Europa League group. Let's be honest. People want to big up Sevilla, but Sevilla is known to be a good Europa League team. You know why they are a good Europa League team? Because they either don't make the Champions League every year or they finish third in their group. So let's not act like they're an elite team when it comes to the Champions League. They're not. Okay? They have the Europa League heritage, but there's a reason why they're always in the Europa League. It's because they miss out.
Give it a couple of games. We start dropping points in the group. Give it a couple of games. All these Arsenal fans come out of the world. Oh, it's such a tough away day against Sevilla. Oh,
Brendan, when have we ever rated Europa League teams? We have never done that. But I'm seeing the excuses already coming out. Just in case we lose, they're a good European team. No, they're a good Europa League team. There's a reason why they're in the Europa League. The agendas are a little bit crazy. I'm not gonna lie. The excuses are getting ready. I expect from Arsenal the same thing I said I expect from my team. We've been crying out loud to be in the Champions League, top 4 this, top 4 that. You can't talk about top 4 every year as being a goal, and then you go into the Champions League and you're complaining. So why did you want to be in the Champions League to begin with? It just doesn't make sense. You want to be in the Champions League just to say, hey, I'm here. Let's troll the Liverpool fans. Let's troll the Chelsea fans. Oh, but we're not going to win. We're just here to troll you guys. Top four again. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it don't make sense, mate. Like, I hate this whole all top four business and all that. Go and actually win something. Something that this manager hasn't done, by the way, since he got rid of the entire squad that won the FA Cup pretty much. Do you know what I mean? The only one that's here now that played in that FA Cup final is Martinelli, but Bukayo Saka didn't even play in that. So yeah, he's got to win something. He's got to win something. If he doesn't, sack him. Sack him. Anyway, moving on from that, because I could go on a rant about Arteta for days. Staffy knows that.
Yeah, I listen.
Arsenal
I'm not gonna
versus Man
lie.
United.
I tune into you and Lee Gunner and what's his name, Northside, because you guys give me that part of that the rest of the Arsenal fans don't give me. So
Reality. Yeah,
yeah,
we give
so
the reality check that people don't like.
you've
But you're
seen
the
it,
same.
Brendan.
You're the same with Man United, though.
I get the same treatment. I was about to say, oh, the league gunner of Arsenal of Manchester United. Why? Because I said we didn't play good today? I am sorry, guys, that I didn't just echo everything you said and acted like everything is rosy and beautiful out there. It's not. People are like, oh, but you're too negative. You know what they're doing right now, Brendan? Now everyone's becoming negative with the summer ending. When I was being negative in the beginning because I'm saying I don't see us moving down the correct route, people are like, no, but be optimistic. I've been optimistic for 10 years and we haven't won the league. Why is this one going to be different? Nothing has changed. You know what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Why am I is meant to be insane and expect something different when I've seen this road before? You know what makes me optimistic? Seeing the Glazers selling the club and the Qataris linked in. If the Qataris came in, I'll be like, you know what? I've never seen the Qataris before. I don't know how they handle business. I don't know how good they are. They have a good reputation, but let's see what they do.
I love these people. They're quality. Matthew, big up yourself. Thank you for the view, by the way. I appreciate it because you hate me so much. You decided to come and watch me. So big up for that. I actually hate your guts. If we bring in another manager, we'll fall back to mid table. I will die on this hill. And people like you, Brandon, will be the reason for the drop. Why? Because I want better. How does that make sense, Staffy? Somebody in the comments section, please tell me how that makes sense. I'm telling everybody here that Arsenal cannot win the league title this season because the manager has already fucked up. And he's shown last season he weren't good enough to do it. When we was 8 points clear with 8 games to go, we bottled it. He showed the season before that when we had 3 games remaining and we was in prime position to finish in the Champions League spot that he bottled it. So what are you actually saying here, Matthew? And on top of that, right, if Arteta's such a god and any manager that we bring in is going to be a massive drop-off from that, what should we do? Just close the football club down if Arteta ever leaves? Do you know what I mean?
You know what, Brandon? You know what I told her? I don't know if you've seen that segment of me on the terrace. It was earlier in the summer. I told them, and a lot of people got upset when I said that. I said Arteta could be your version of Claudio Ranieri when he was at Chelsea, because he built a good team, but he wasn't good enough to take him over the line. He built the foundation, and then they sacked him, and they got Mourinho, and he won him everything. He didn't change much about my team. He just added to whatever Claudio Ranieri already built. And when I said that, people got so pissed at me. And I said, listen, there could be a manager. And they're like, who? I gave them obviously options at the time that were available. I was talking about Enrique, who's been there, done that. Ancelotti's been there and done that. They were kind of more realistic. But I'm like, it doesn't really matter who it is, because in a year from now, we could be talking about next summer about a manager who did really good, who's available, that if he's available and your team is not winning anything after 4 or 5 years, it's time to try something new. It doesn't take away from what Arteta did, because I think Arteta has done a decent job rebuilding this team somewhat. But not everyone is meant there to be the finisher. He doesn't have to finish everything. He could have built the base and someone else comes in. That's what Mourinho did with Madrid. He kind of redid that team. Didn't really win anything except for like a league and a cup. But then they brought in Ancelotti and they won the Champions League. Sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes you go the next step. You get someone different, maybe better, and he could be the guy that finishes the job. But I feel like this is a weird attachment to Arteta that people are too sentiment. They love an underdog story. Everyone wants to see an underdog story where someone started from scratch and he made it all the way to the finishing line. But that's not reality, Brendan. That's not always what happens. You could start a job, but someone is better than you. So at some point, I need to level up and upgrade. So I'm going to be like, Brandon, thanks for what you did. Thank you for the contribution. But I am now elevating to something better. So I need to hire someone better. And that's just the reality of life. People don't want to accept that with Arsenal. I don't know why. It's weird to me, but it is
And
what
that's
it
what
is.
big clubs do. That's what big clubs should do. I can guarantee you right now that if Pep Guardiola, arguably the greatest manager in the history, right? Definitely the greatest manager of this generation. If he had a massive drop off this season, then Manchester City wouldn't be very happy with him. If he then followed that on with next season and let's just say he scraped by and got fourth place, I guarantee you right now, them owners would be looking at him going, it's time to move on from you, Sunshine. And that's the greatest manager in the history and definitely of this generation. So why is it any different from Mikel Arteta? I get people wanting to succeed. He was a former Arsenal player, former Arsenal captain. I understand it. But the fundamentals are not there. They're not there. Look at what he's doing this season. It already shows me that this guy is still a novice manager. Why would you tear everything up that was good and then start something new all over again? Surely, like Staffy was saying earlier, you keep everything that was good and you add to it. Instead, what he's done is he's gone, I'll show these lot. Kai Havertz is a great player. 65 mil, yeah, let's drop it on him. And then all of a sudden, he's wondering why he's got question marks being asked about him because nobody wanted this guy in the first place. But anyway, I could go on a
You
rant
go
about
on and
Arteta
on and
for
on.
days,
I know.
bro. For days and days and days. And people don't like it, but tough. I'm here to stay. Set them standards high because I'm telling you now, this season, I'm coming for everyone. Everyone. I've got the receipts. I've got the clips. I've got it all. Yeah. Nobody can tell me nothing this season. Arsenal Man United this weekend. Big game. Both teams have been very underwhelming in the first three games. Yes, Arsenal have picked up 7 points out of 9. People like to remind me of that. But if we're being completely honest, our performances haven't been great. Of course, you boys, I mean, the opening day victory against Wolves could have been a different story. For me, that is a penalty all day long. He absolutely cleared him out there. But, you got the victory. Then, of course, you go to Tottenham and you boys are absolutely horrific at Tottenham. And then
Were we
Nottingham
really?
Forest, mate, like 2-0 down inside the first 3 minutes. What is going on? So it's going to be an interesting game, stuff, because I don't think either team is very comfortable in their situation right now. Not either team has hit the heights that we saw of them from last season. But of course, it's always a big game, Arsenal versus Man United. What's your feelings going into this?
I mean, you said it very well. Both teams have been underwhelming. I would argue that we've been more underwhelming than you guys. Our injuries are not doing us a favor right now. Our best center back is out, Varane. Luke Shaw is out. Mason Mount is out, regardless of how much we rate him or not. The manager rates him, and that's the most important thing. He was starting because the manager wants him to start, so he's out. We don't have a number 9 that's fit enough to play 90 minutes. Martial made his comeback last game, and it was his first game since the last game of the season last week. He didn't play last season. He didn't play a single minute in the preseason. So, in our marquee signing, Hoyland hasn't even trained until earlier this week.
I
So
thought
he's
you were
going to
talking
be.
about Regulon.
Oh my god! I'm telling you, make me forget about that. I want to pretend that it's not there. So he's going to be on the bench. That's the only positive. But we have too many holes going into this game. I personally rate Lindelof to a certain extent. I think he's better than what we've seen throughout his time with United. I think he was unfairly associated with Maguire too much because that partnership was dead. But yet again, who was a good partner for Maguire? I think he's a better player than what we saw from him in the last few years. But yet again, he's going to come in and offer that defensive solidity against the attacking line that Arsenal brings. I'm not sure. I know he'll be good in the ball, but I don't know if he'll be good off the ball. Delo did a job for us last game, playing as an inverted left back, but is he going to do it against a team that's going to press us high up the pitch, unlike Forrest, who sat back and didn't really offer anything going up front? You know, the midfield, same questions. Ericsson came in, did a job, but is Ericsson going to be able to um, keep up with the pace and physicality of Declan Rice and if Partey plays in that midfield? There's so many questions that I need to listen. I'm not positive, but I need answers, and the only way I can get answers is by seeing the 90 minutes. So I'm not really optimistic. Yet again, because I'm negative, because I'm the league gunner of Manchester United fan base. I have to say it as it is, but at the same time, I do try to back my team as much as I can without being deluded. So I'm going and hoping it's more of a hopeful 1-1 because I would bite your hand off right now for a point at the Emirates. Even though I know you guys are not playing your best, you still have enough to come in and do the damage that you've seen Spurs, you've seen Wolves. You guys have enough quality to do the same. It's a matter if you will or not, because luckily you haven't started the season well. If you guys started the season the same way you did last year, I would be worried. I'm not worried because I feel like you guys are just confused with what's going on, So that's the only thing that's kind of giving me, a little bit of hope. But I'm hoping for a 1-1, where you guys don't score enough. I think it's going to be a tight game, by the way. I feel like you guys will score, but we'll find a way to equalize it because I've seen all three of your games. You're always conceding a goal for whatever reason. Hopefully we can capitalize on your issues with starting the game well because I've noticed that about you guys. If I'm Ten Hag, I'm talking to these players about starting the game strong. I'm going to tell them, look, they don't always start the game strong. They always have lapse of focuses in the first few minutes. This is why you guys always concede an early goal out of nowhere. We've seen it last game. We've seen it a few times last season. I would focus on that. We are we are the highest team in the league, by the way, in forcing turnovers in the final third of the opponent. We're averaging 9.7 per game. If we could do that against you guys, like we've seen last game, Saka lapse of focus, they win the ball high up the pitch. Ramsdale kind of has that Bozo gene where he does that sometimes, So if we can do something like that early in the game, benefits us massively because I think most of the game will be controlled by you guys. So it's a matter of if we're able to score early or not. And if you guys score early, are we going to be able to respond or not? So we'll see, man. We'll see.
Yeah, I agree. I think it will be a tight game. I say a tight game. A lot of it comes down to the manager for me and who he picks in what positions. Does he stick with Thomas Partey at right back? I don't think he should. Now that Zinchenko's back and fully fit, I want to see him starting at left back. Although, a similar situation arises with Zinchenko where, we can kind of be exposed down that left-hand side. It's not as bad as playing a midfielder at right back. It just isn't. It'd be interesting to see if Kai Havertz starts or not because he had an absolute stinker against Fulham. If anything, I'd like to see the manager play a player based off of merit, and Fabio Vieira, who I'm not a massive fan of, to be fair, came on in that game and changed it. So now that he's hit a bit of form, it'd be ideal really for the manager to maybe, give him a bit of confidence by starting him maybe against Man United and seeing if he can build off that form and turn it into something. But yeah, he needs to take Havertz out the firing line for me. He needs to move Partey back into midfield, play Zinchenko, play Gabriel, do all the things that was working for us last season. We've got Eddie Nketiah as well, who's, on a bit of form at the moment. He's just had a call up to England as well, England duty. You got Gabriel Jesus back from injury. So we've got plenty of strength there. And really, truly, we should be winning this game by a couple of goals, to be honest with you. There's always that worry at home, though, that, we played 2 home games so far this season and we've conceded 3 goals. So we have a tendency of having lapse in concentration at home. And you're right, we don't fully focus from the kickoff. And that's another bugbear for me, about these players. They don't 100% focus from minute 1. And that's why, you see Arsenal conceding early goals, not just, this season, but last season as well. So yeah, there is an opportunity there for Man United, but if we're being completely real, we should be winning this game by 2 or 3 goals and comfortably as well. Because, like you said, no Luke Shaw,
Oh
no
man,
Varane. Your best
and
defenders
m-
out injured. You're going to
midfield
have to
is
play
imbalanced.
Lindelof or Maguire or Johnny Evans even as
Lindelof will
a
start.
centre back. So
Don't
it
say these names. It's
if you
Lindelof.
if you're Gabriel Jesus or Eddie Nketiah and you simply cannot, and that goes for Martinelli and Saka as well. If you cannot get at that Man United defense, then there is something seriously wrong. Seriously wrong. And then, like you said, your midfield's unbalanced. There's not, I don't really know what's happening with this Amrabat deal. Um,
No
you
one
know,
knows, mate. No one knows.
as far as we're Ericsson's legs is gone as well. So Declan Rice and Thomas Partey should dominate that midfield, even with Casemiro there. The one thing that stood out for me, especially with you boys against Spurs, was how easily your midfield got ran through. It was unreal, really. And I like Anana. I do like him, but he has a bit of a bozo gene in him as well. He has a tendency of, maybe making a couple of mistakes. So
His game is very risky. I wouldn't say it's a bozo gene, but
yeah,
he does play a risky game. So
yeah,
there is elements of risk when it comes to having he's very similar to Edison. Edison is a very good goalkeeper, but every here and there's the Edison red card. That's the Edison getting chipped. That's the Edison that makes the wrong pass that leads to a goal. It's the same. It comes with the territory. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, definitely. And yeah, at the end of the day, if we can't win this game, Staffy, I'm gonna be
I
even
was gonna ask
more.
you that. I was gonna ask you, what if you don't win? Um,
If we don't win, I mean, you see my reaction to the Fulham game, yeah?
mhm.
It'd be 10 times worse than that. Worse than that. Because we're supposed to be fighting for a league title this season. That's what everybody's told me. Everybody said after Red Star Belgrade, not Red Star Belgrade. Who did we play in bloody preseason? What are they called? Uh,
Which game?
MLS All Stars.
Oh,
Yeah, after MLS All Stars. Oh, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. We beat Manchester City in the Community Shield. Oh, yes, we can go on and win the league this season. So, you know, I expect it. I expect us, the minimum that I expect us to do is the same as what we did last season. Finish second and win a trophy. Win a trophy is the main thing, but also competing for a league title. That is the minimum expectation. Anything less than that, I'm going to be, like I said, you're going to see, I'll probably get clipped up a lot this
I will
season.
be on the match reaction anyways if you go on the terrace. I don't think, I'm gonna be very honest. I don't think you guys can afford to not pick up the 3 points. I'm gonna be very blunt about it. If we don't pick up the 3 points, people are gonna be like, you know what? They have injuries. They're away from home. Arsenal are expected to compete for the league. There is reasons. But if you really lose to us with all our holes right now into this team, with the imbalanced midfield, with no striker, without our best center back, without our best left back, I'll be very honest when I say this. A lot of people who are not Arteta out yet will be Arteta out this game. And the people that are Arteta out, the likes of you, Lee Gunner, who've been speaking about it, you guys are gonna look like geniuses. Not even that, because I know at the end of the day, you guys would rather win. You'd rather win the league than to be, yes, I was right. I know that. You guys care
100%.
about the club more. But you're gonna be like, I told you so. And rightfully so. Rightfully so. I don't think anyone can blame. I think people will owe you guys an apology because you're gonna be like, this is what we talked about. We can't even beat a half good United team. This is not even their best version, and they still got points off us. And I'm talking about even a draw. You're gonna be like, why are we overreacting? We only picked up a point. It's okay. It's United at the end of the day. No, bro. I am telling you, you should be picking up points against us, all three of them.
Definitely. And as far as apologies are concerned, Staffy, they don't happen anyway. You know, when you and look, big up a gal, right? Because me and a gal do get on. We still do streams together and that. But when a gal screamed at me on the football terrace, even those I ended up being right yet again. He didn't apologise. He didn't come to me and say, well, I'm sorry for that. You was right once again, Brandon. But you won't get that, But I guarantee you, all these fans that are big ardent Arteta fans, if we was to win the league, they would come for me, Lee, Northside, like nobody's business, asking for apologies, and they won't get an ounce of it from us because at the end of the day, it's expected now. It's expected now. But yeah, you're right. I'm score prediction. What's your score prediction?
I said it earlier when I was explaining our deficiencies. I'm gonna be hopeful and I'm gonna back the boys. Hopefully we get a point at least. I will be realistic and hopeful at the same time. And the best outcome I thought of is picking up a point with our circumstances. So 1-1, hopefully.
1-1. Okay. What do I do here? Do I go?
Go for what's right, and you know what's right.
I'm just having nightmares about Thomas Partey against Marcus Rashford. If
I think you guys will set up the same way. By the way,
that
people are
ends up being
saying
the
it's
case,
going to change.
Surely Arteta's not that stupid. He can't be. He can't be. If he is, Jesus Christ, he don't deserve anything. If he goes into that game with Thomas Partey up against Marcus Rashford, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I'm going for 3-1 Arsenal. 3-1 Arsenal. I think Eddie Nketiah, if he gets his start, which I think he will do, he's in scoring form at the moment. I'm backing him to score against you.
I think he's the right decision. I think he's the right decision. I think he should start, by the way. If you start a real number 9 against us, we will struggle. If Havertz starts as a false 9, because I'm seeing a lot of people saying move Partey back to the midfield and put Havertz as a false 9. I don't know how many players they want inverting into the midfield. Like, I'm convinced some of these people don't understand football, Brandon. They want the left back, the right back, and the striker to invert. I don't know why you need a midfield of 6-7 players. If you do that, listen, bro, I'll probably die laughing because it would be the dumbest thing to do. Eddie Nketiah is on a high after scoring against us last time. He'll come on the pitch and be like, I scored against them before. I can do that again. But if he start Havertz, it just shows me, I don't think he's stupid. He's stubborn. And that's probably worse than being stupid. Because maybe you can learn your mistake. But if you're just stubborn, I don't think anything is going to change. So a lot is on the line, bro. I'm not going to lie to you.
What's your team? What would be your team to face Arsenal?
I mean, ours is not hard to pick who starts for us because we don't even have options. Onana starts in goal. Right back is going to be Wan-Bissaka. I was a bit on a good form. At least that's what people are telling me. Lissandro, Lindelof are center backs. Left back is Delo. He's the only option we have. We don't have any other left backs. Even Malacia's out injured. Hence why we got Reguilon. And no, he's not going to start. Just before you even go there, don't say Reguilon the Don anymore. Midfield is going to be Casemiro, Bruno. I think if McTominay stays and he doesn't get sold, I think he starts. If he gets sold and Amrabat comes in, I actually think Amrabat starts if he comes in. But speaking with what we have right now, I will say it's Eriksen who's going to start. And the front three, I think, is going to be the same front three from last game. It's going to be Rashford on the left. Had a decent game last game. Not a good game, but decent game in terms of GA. Martial, the 9, who there's a lot of work that he needs to do to get back to fitness because he can only play 60 minutes. And Anthony, who is it's not lighting the world up, but he did have his last game was good. I'll be honest. He had a decent game against Forest. So hopefully, if he goes on against Zinchenko, I actually favor him over Zinchenko because I think Zinchenko's just he's horrible defensively. So we'll see. There's a few matchups on that pitch that I'm looking forward to. If Partey starts at the right back, Rashford, I think Rashford is eating. I'm not gonna lie to you. You give him that space that Pereira was given last game when he scored that goal. This guy is bagging, So we'll see.
Definitely. Yeah, I see what you're saying about the Zinchenko thing. I really don't rate Anthony one little bit. I think he's a complete and utter flop, to be honest with you. I really do. People spoke about Nicola Pepe. I actually think Pepe is better than Anthony. At least he had end product. It's crazy. It is crazy. But I say that he'll probably go and score against us at the weekend now. So
He did score against you last year at home on his
He
debut,
did. He
so
did.
I hope he heard that. I'm gonna send him
Yeah.
this clip.
So my team, I'm going to go something different, Staffy. I'm going to go a little bit more defensively sound.
Is it what you want or your prediction?
No, this is what I would do.
Okay.
Because of you hitting, because you're more of a counter-attacking team than what you are possession based. Like you say, we should have the majority of the possession in this game. We're at home. So I would actually do what I said earlier. I would actually go with Gabriel on the left, Saliba and Rice as centre backs, with Rice stepping out into midfield. Ben White on the right, Thomas Partey in midfield with Rice, Fabio Vieira and Martin Odegaard. Then Martinelli, Saka, and Eddie Nketiah up front. That would be my team. And I think that would be more than strong enough defensively to stop you from hitting us on the counter-attack. And I think that would be more than enough offensively as well, so that we can really hurt you when we're going forward. A lot of people in the comments saying about David Raya starting over Aaron Ramsdale. To be honest with you,
debut in a game like this,
I wouldn't change it for a game like this because
100%.
I think this is too much of a big game to change it for David Raya. Although I actually rate David Raya higher than I do Aaron Ramsdale. To be fair, I think his distribution is very, very good, and his goalkeeping ability is very good. Whereas Ramsdale, if you watched him against Fulham, his distribution used to be really good. He used to be able to, hit long balls, find Martinelli, find Saka. Every time this guy was trying the long pass, it was out of play every single time.
I saw him in the US game too, here in New York. I was at the game and he started the game by kicking the ball twice out of the outside the pitch. And I'm like, what's going on with this guy? Because I was sitting right behind him. So I could see the ball going out before it actually goes out. I was like, what's going on with this guy? He had a horror show against us that day. So long may that last. I hope he does the same thing tomorrow if he starts.
Definitely. Megan says, as a Man City fan, Arsenal will win 2-0 on Sunday. I hope so, Megan, because if not, I'm coming to City on loan because I can't put up with this rubbish from this club anymore. Johnny says, Tyson, the offensive part is very important to Arteta, and Tomiyasu really runs on that line. Much better in possession, attacking like handball than Tierney. Do you think that? Do you think Tomiyasu is better attacking fullback than Kieran Tierney? Really?
I rate Tomiyasu, actually. I think he's really good. His issue is he can't stay healthy, though.
I think he's decent defensively, but
a little bit awkward going for up front, yeah.
Yeah, offensively, I definitely think Kieran Tierney's hands down better. Hands down. I think we should talk about Vieira last game. He looked like a new guy, came into the game with lots of energy. That surprised me big time. I think it surprised everyone, mate, because I was expecting him to come off the bench and be as underwhelming as what he normally is. Tierney can not only cross a ball, but he also scores goals. That's true. But Kieran Tierney's not here anymore, so there's no point in talking about Kieran Tierney. I was quite glad that we didn't get Real Sociedad in the Champions League group, because I could imagine Tierney coming back to haunt us. But Steve says, Brandon, you are the most embarrassing Arsenal fan I've ever seen. How would you react if Spurs beat Arsenal at the Emirates? Well, what do you mean? I'd be fuming, mate. I'd be absolutely furious.
Because you speak the truth, Brandon. They think you're negative to the point that you want your team to lose. They did the same with me when we had a bad performance against Wolves. As soon as I hopped on the terrace, they're like, oh, look, Staffy's happy because he gets to say, I told you so. I was like, no. I already knew I was right. I don't need validation from a game to tell you guys I was right. You guys can say that now because now you're going to try to perceive me as a negative. You're trying to twist it now. You're turning it basically and blame me. And I'm like, I'm just telling you what I said before. Nothing has changed. So don't be mad at me for being right and seeing it before you guys did. They just assumed that bro, they cooked me also for predicting a win against Spurs. I was like, so am I negative or am I deluded? Pick one. Because clearly you said I don't back my team, but when I back my team, you're making fun of me for getting the prediction wrong. It's
Well,
just it doesn't make sense at times. But whatever makes him sleep at night, Brandon. That's all I can say.
exactly. Let him crack on, mate. I'm quite happy doing what I'm doing. And Steve, look, I'll still be here tomorrow. I'll still be here the next day. I'll still be coming on here and saying what I feel like I need to say, regardless of whether you like it or you don't. So my best advice to you is if you don't like it, don't watch it. Simple as that.
Steve, you could start your channel and call it True Steve Gunner TV and go on and talk about why you think you should be positive. I don't think Brandon is stopping you from creating your own content and telling people what you think. But you want to come here and tell him what to say. I think you need to go back and review your life, bro, not review what he's saying, because he didn't force you to be here. You chose to come.
Exactly. We can all talk about how it's sunshine and rainbows, but I'm a realist, my friend, and that's just how it is. And I know you are as well, Staffy. So, yeah, there we have it. Arsenal versus Man United preview. Hopefully, if you're available, this is maybe after the game we could do a little reaction video together.
We'll see if we can organize that.
See how it's panned out and that. I will be on Staffy's channel tomorrow, so make sure you go over and follow Staffy TV on YouTube and subscribe and all of that as well.
I'm gonna type it in the chat right now so people can know where to find
Yeah,
it.
yeah. The link he's going to put it in the chat. The link is already attached to the title anyway, so you can go straight over there and subscribe. Make sure you hit the like buttons on the way out from here as well. Subscribe to the channel. We are literally 70 people away from 2,000 subs. Get us there, people. Come on, get us there. And yeah, I will be back at some point tomorrow, I believe. Yeah, some point tomorrow. If not, make sure you come over and see me on Staffy's channel. Make sure you show him some love as well.
10 p.m. tomorrow.
And of course, I'll be back for the Man United Arsenal game as always. So, Steve, go suck your mum, mate. I'm out of here. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.